Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking.
Welcome aboard Truly Expat Travel, where we're ditching the guidebooks, fastening our seatbelts, and diving into real stories from travellers who have traded the ordinary for the extraordinary, proving the world really is too big to be left unexplored. Cabin crew, be seated and ready for takeoff. Today I'm going to talk about the prettiest city or harbour in the world. I know it's a big call because a lot of people will say their city or their harbour is the prettiest in the world, but I think that Sydney Harbour is the prettiest harbour in the world. And let me get started and let me explain why. I'm talking about Sydney today because that's where I'm from. That's where I grew up. That's where I was born. And yeah, I go back a lot because my kids are there. So I'm there all the time. So it kind of feels like I still live there, even though, I'm not there as much as I am in other places, but I still am there a big chunk of the year. I want to talk about Sydney because it is a very special place for me. And I also think I'm very blessed to have called this home and will call this home one day again when I retire. It has everything. It has the beach, it has the harbour, it has the cafes, it has the heritage as much as Australia can, the heritage area. It's where Captain Cook landed. It's where, you can go to the zoo that's on the most prettiest harbour, and then you can catch a ferry to another side. You've got the harbour, you've got iconic things like the Harbour Bridge and the Sydney Opera House. So let's get stuck into Sydney and when you should visit and why you should visit. You can visit, to be fair, I think Sydney's one of those places you can actually visit every season, but in particular, I think summer in Sydney, or spring's my favourite, but summer in Sydney is pretty special if you are a person that likes to go to the beach. There are things about Sydney that you can't find in other capital cities in around Australia. You cannot go to the city and then 15 minutes later be at a beautiful beach or an amazing harbour. There are pretty places around Australia, but I just think that Sydney, you just have it. Let's get started. It is different to where a place that I grew up. When I grew up there, the nightlife was huge. It was a main part of what Sydney was about, but it's not that anymore. It's about getting up early, going for a run along the beach and having brunch. We have some amazing brunch places. So if you are a person that likes brunches, this is the place to be. I'll go through what I think a good 5 days should look like, and we'll do it maybe in seasons. So the best way to get from the city to where you stay, it depends on where you want to stay. If you're staying in the city, the best option is probably the train. If it's if it's one of the beaches, then a taxi is probably a better idea, or an Uber. I think that with Sydney, getting around is probably Ubers, I have to admit. Or if you're just staying in the city, you've got the monorail, you've got the trains, and you've got the buses. Getting a car also is really good. If you're just going to stay in the city, don't. But if you're not going to just stay in the city and you want to travel outside of the city or to the beaches, I would get a car. I'd hire a car from the airport, makes life easier. And I would stay maybe at one of the beaches. So I would visit Bondi, but is it the beach that I would stay at? Probably not. You've got a few beaches along there. You've got Bronte, you've got Tamarama, you've got Coogee, you've got Maroubra. Or you could go over to the northern beaches and you could go and stay in Manly or Fairlight or further up in Narrabeen. It's a bit far, but you could, there's so many options if you want to stay by the beach. And the beach culture in Australia and Sydney in particular is that, you can stay at the beach all day and you can have lunch there and swim in the water, and you can go for a walk from Bondi all the way to La Perouse now. Actually, I think you can go all the way from Watson's Bay all the way down to La Perouse, which is a very big stretch of beach or coastline, and some really pretty paths. If you only got 5 days, this is what I think you should do. Go to the Harbour Bridge. You have to go to the Harbour Bridge. Do the Harbour Bridge climb. I actually really enjoyed it. I know it's kind of like, if you are afraid of heights like I am, don't worry. It's actually not so bad because you're not close enough to the side to feel like you're going to fall. I found it fine. I actually did. I found it fine. So I would do the Harbour Bridge and I would do the Harbour Bridge climb. I would also go to the Opera House. And you know what? I recently did, just a few months ago, for the first time ever, since actually I did this when I was in primary school, and I am old, so it was a long time ago, but I did a tour of the Opera House, and that was actually a little bit fun, actually. I learned a lot from it. Could do that, or you can go and see a show. You can pick up tickets from there and see a show. That's also very good. There's a beautiful restaurant in there. I don't know if you want to splurge a little bit. Benlong's is in there, which is a beautiful restaurant overlooking the harbour. If not, you've got the Opera Bar, which is nice to sit outside and have a drink, or sit out there and have lunch. It does get busy on the weekends, so I would avoid weekends and maybe go during the week. You've also got restaurants nearby. So all around Circular Quay, you've got beautiful restaurants, which leads you then to the rocks. I kind of would do that all in one day. I would also, the next day, if you want to explore a little bit more, I would do, which I also did just recently for the first time, is I did a walking tour of the rocks. So that was really interesting to find out what the history of the rocks is. And then I went off and watched some movies and stuff. That's what I do. I like to read books or watch movies about what they've talked about. And I found it really interesting because we aren't that old. Our country isn't that old. So the history there is interesting because there's some things there that are still as they were. I would then go down around Darling Harbour. You can walk there, or you can catch a train there, or a bus, or the monorail. Actually, no, I don't think you catch the monorail to Darling Harbour, but you can walk there. It's just super scenic, or a taxi, or an Uber. But it's not a bad walk. And in Darling Harbour, all around there, you've got Cockle Bay and Barangaroo. You've got some beautiful restaurants, so you can sit and have a lovely lunch and have a look at the harbour. From the harbour, though, from Darling Harbour area, you can go to watch a movie there, or if the weather's not great, or in winter, you can go whale watching from there. But in summer, you can go jet setting from there. You know those jet boats that you can do those around the harbour? That's a lot of fun. Or you can do a cruise. You can do like a dinner cruise or a lunch cruise that will take you all around the harbour. So that's two days. You know, you have to go to the beach. So I would then do the Coogee to Bondi walk because it's not as far, and I would start off maybe in Coogee, have a look around there. I would start off in Bondi, have a look around there. You can eat at icebergs. Kind of iconic. It's very nice. You can go upstairs and have dinner or lunch in icebergs, or underneath icebergs, the restaurant there is actually like a RSL. I don't know what that's equivalent to in other countries, but it's cheap and cheerful food. The food's nice. You don't have to get dressed up, and it's got a beautiful view. So you can have lunch there before you go off on your walk. And then I would have lunch at Coogee because you've got some really cute cafes, and it's a nice beach. It's smaller. You can go for a swim, and the waves aren't. It's more of a bay than a beach. So the waves aren't as big. You can do either way, actually. That was I would just spend the day at the beach and doing the walk. That would be my day 2. My day 3 would be you could go and either drive or go on a tour to Kurnell. And Kurnell is about a 30 to 40 minute drive, I'd say, from the city. And it is Captain Cook's landing spot. There's a little museum there. There is where he stopped, he landed. There is a beautiful walkway there. In winter, it's whale watching. You can see whales go past all the time. But in summer, you can go for a swim. There's a beach there. You can go for a walk. You can have a picnic. It's quite pretty. That's pretty much a whole day. You could, if you had your own car, you could stop off at Cronulla on the way, and there's a beautiful walk along those beaches as well. And there's great area for cafes and things like that, and some little boutique shops. Then the next day, I would definitely go to get a ferry and go over to Manly, have a look around there. You can spend a whole day there. There's so much to do. You can swim, you do lots of walks, you can have a picnic, there's lots of shops. So there's quite a bit that you can do over there. And then I would catch the ferry back, or you can stay overnight over there. There's a couple of big hotels that are overlooking the water. That's also a nice alternative. And then you can, if if you've got 7 days, which is better, the following day I would consider going on a picnic. Now there's some beautiful picnic areas and some walks around Sydney. You could go to Watson's Bay, you can have a picnic there, or you can go and have seafood at Watson's Bay and kind of sit overlooking the beach at Doyle's. There's also an outdoor area in a pub that has some great food, so I'd kind of explore that area. You could also catch a seaplane to Whale Beach. There's a lot to do around that area. And if you have one last day, then you can go into the city, you can go into Chinatown, you can have some dim. So we in Australia, and I don't know why we do it there, and I don't know if any other country does it, but I know they don't do it in Japan, is when you go to teppanyaki, it's more like a show. They like throw eggs at you and stuff like that. You can do that down in Chinatown, which is quite fun, and you can spend your day shopping in the city. You can go and see a matinee. There's a couple of theatres there. You can do that at night or during the day. If you wanted to just go food hunting, there's a few areas there where you can go and have Korean barbecue. There's a whole street full of it. So your final day you can just spend in the city looking around. I could do 2 weeks. I could do a full 2 weeks itinerary there, but I'm not. I'm just going to give you those 7 days because it depends on the season that you go, depending on what you want to do. Because there's Taronga Zoo. It takes you a whole full day. There's the aquarium. There's so much to do in different areas. You can go to Katoomba. There's a day out in the Blue Mountains. And see the Three Sisters. You can go down the Central Coast to the entrance. There's a lot to do in Sydney. I guess I'm a little bit biased just because I'm from there, but I would highly recommend also, you can get a Opal card, which is your transport card. Well, these days you can just tap your own card, but don't be caught, especially on ferries, because the ferries, they will pick you up and give you a big fine. So you make sure that you are tapping on and tapping off when you get on. The other things that I would say is that in terms of with Australia, it isn't a tipping culture. So, but if you do have really, really good service, you tip. If you go in a taxi, you round it up, and you can use your cards pretty much everywhere. It's not like other countries where, cash is king. You can use your card at pretty much anywhere now. I don't remember the last time I had cash in my wallet in Australia. I would also book tours and stuff online before. And a lot of that's because things get booked up pretty quickly, especially in peak season. And peak season obviously is our summer, which is November, December, January. December, January, February. Christmas is fun in Sydney because it's warm and, it's a feel-good time. There's school holidays in January, so prices go skyrocketed. So my favourite season is September, October, November. I like spring. Spring in Sydney is beautiful, warm days, but cooler nights. So to me, that's kind of perfect. There are a lot of restaurants. There's so many restaurants that we have some of the most beautiful restaurants, not just in the city, but you've got inner city like Woolloomooloo or Alexandria, Redfern. All those places have got really great restaurants now, great vibe. Even, or you could go to places like that never used to be beautiful but are really cool now, like Marrickville. They've got some really great breweries and restaurants and cafes. So it depends on the type of trip that you are after. If you're going with kids, there's so much to do. There's so many places to visit, whether it's that wildlife park, what is it, Featherdale Wildlife Park, or, going to treetops. You can go to treetops where you climb from tree to tree. There's a lot to do. In summer, you can go to the SCG. There's cricket matches. There is stadiums. We've got the Homebush Stadium with lots of concerts and sporting events. You've got Allianz Stadium, which has got sporting events and also some great concerts. So it's worth looking up what's on at the time that you go, because we do have a lot of music festivals and stuff like that as well, if that's your thing. And again, it just depends on what kind of things that you like to do. Now, in terms of souvenirs, like if you're not a magnet type of person like I'm not, there's some really great souvenirs to take home. One would be obviously Vegemite and Tim Tams, and you have to try Tim Tams. And you have to try Vegemite properly, because Vegemite's amazing if you eat it properly. But you also got the sheepskin Uggs. Get the proper Uggs, not the Chinese version. You've got, little teddy bears, koala teddy bears and koala bear stuffed animals and stuff like that you can take home. But there's also some really good artists. I know that people are going to go, oh my gosh, he's so old, but Ken Doan. So Ken Doan has an art gallery. I think he still has a shop in Circular Quay with, he does these prints of Sydney, but really pretty and, vibrant colours and stuff like that. So he's worth, I know I'm very old school, but it's worth having a look at. And then there's lots of parks and lots of places to walk, lots of walking tracks. So if you like the outdoors, Sydney's a place to go. And in the city, you've got all those bikes, these e-bikes that you can go from place to place, and everything's so close. So that is a real affordable way to get from those e-bikes to get from place to place. Definitely not around the beaches, because it's a bit hilly and a bit hard to get to. Generally speaking, hire a car. If you're not staying in the city, hire a car. If you are staying in the city, do not hire a car, because driving in the city is crazy and also very expensive. Unless your hotel allows you to park there, then added bonus, but it can be quite expensive. That's all that I need to, that I want to cover in this episode anyway, because I think I will do a part 2 of Sydney down the track, but more about seasonal travel. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. But anyway, in the meantime, thank you for listening. And if you liked this episode, do not forget to leave us a review so that other people can find us. In the meantime, happy travels, and I'll see you next time.